Your source for everything paranormal. Para-X. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para-X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Supernatural. Magic. Ghosts. UFOs. Bigfoot. Extraterrestrial. Psychic energy.
The Calling.
Is a singer. I've been listening to your music. Fantastic, excellent singer. But she's also the head of Secret
Ireland
Tours. Yes. So tell us, well, first off, let's start with the music type thing. How long have you been singing?
Oh my God, Jerry, I have been singing since I was very young. Or I've been listening to traditional songs since I was very young, because I come from a very small but very cultural village in the northwest of Ireland in a place called Sligo, and the village is called Gurching. So all the great traditional musicians and singers come from there, and I grew up listening to it. It's kind of part of everyday life over there, So I learned all these sad, old, miserable songs that you hear in Ireland, all about people dying and death and famine and immigration and all this. And I love it. There's great stories to them. And it's a particular genre of singing. Normally a traditional singer will not have music behind them. And we do a lot of ornamentation and a lot of phrasing, different types of phrasing and everything. So, I have 4 CDs on the market, and I did a lot of touring. And that's how actually the tour company came about. It's amazing. God has a weird way of bringing you down a path that he wants you to go down, And people, I would talk on stage about the songs and the history of the songs and the area that the songs come from. And people would come up to me and they would say, there's great history and you're talking about these songs. Did you ever think about putting a group together and bringing them over and showing them all these places? Now, when that's said to you once or twice or 5 times, you kind of don't take any heed. When it's the exact same sentence is said to you 20 and 30 times, you think, okay, I have to listen to this. What do I do next? And once I kind of, relaxed into it and listened to that inner voice, things started appearing to me. And I got help from, I believe God gave me the help to put all this together. And here I am.
I'll be darned. Well, everything that I've seen, it's amazing. Now, what is your website for your tours?
It is www.secretirelandtoursllc.com. And that's where people can find all the tours there.
Okay, and you got the prices on there and all that
I've
stuff
got
and
the
their
prices.
prices?
I've got the prices, the itinerary. There's some great videos there. People can have a look and see, and photographs there as well. And then the prices, and it'll tell you what the price covers, what it doesn't cover, and everything you need to know is on the website.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Gotcha. Now, Kimberly, you go ahead if you have a question.
So how did you start doing these tours? Was it singing first and then all of a sudden?
It was singing first, Kimberly, here. But of course, I used to teach traditional singing at summer schools over in Ireland. And of course, people would come from all over the world to come to Ireland to learn our traditions and our culture. So you bring people around the locality, and you do all of that anyhow. And I've always done it. But when I came over here, and I used to see for instance, when I lived at home, there's this particular abbey about 10 miles from me. It's a 12th century Cistercian abbey.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing building in its day, and it's rich in history. And I used to see these buses pull up outside that particular abbey, and I'd watch 50 people jumping out of the bus, taking photographs and jumping back in again. And they probably didn't even know what they were looking at,
Right.
except
right.
that it was an old building. They wouldn't have had any history of it. They wouldn't have learned any of the myths and legends around it. They wouldn't know what, they never walked inside it to see all the amazing stone carvings that's in there. So then when I came over here and I would talk to people and they'd say, oh yeah, we were in Ireland, and I'd say, where did you go? Oh, we went everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, now I know what's happening.
Right.
They're jumping in and out of a bus and they're taking photographs and they're going to the next place.
Right.
And I always thought that it was an awful waste of time, money and energy doing it like that. I felt that they're not getting the real sense of the country or the real experience of the country, apart from the people that you want to get to know.
Mm-hmm.
Back thousands and thousands of years.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted people to experience that. And I started off with groups of 12, and then it morphed into groups of 24 because I started joining forces with this very famous psychic medium here in Cincinnati. His name is Victor Peruta, and he runs the Victory of Light. And he always wanted to come with me. And we ended up putting tours of 24 people. Now we're doing our third tour in June. And from the 2 tours that we had done, we have 18 returnees coming with us on their third tour. It is taken off. And then I met this famous, amazing woman, Maria Schmidt. And she approached me during the last Victory of Light, and she asked me would I do a tour. She works with Haunted Journeys. Okay. And she asked me would I do Secret Haunted Journey to Ireland tour for Halloween, because Halloween originated in Ireland.
Okay.
Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yes, Halloween actually originated in Ireland. Halloween would be Samhain, the season of Samhain. Samhain is the Irish name. It would be the beginning of the Celtic year, actually. And it's a very, very, in a pagan rituals and pagan tradition, it's a very, very important pagan festival during that time. Mm-hmm. It's all about the High Kings and, the sunlight and winter solstice and the whole thing. So we put tours together for that. Now we have a few places left on that tour. We actually have 2 tours, October the 26th to November the 3rd, and then October the 30th to November the 7th. And the 2 tours are going to overlap during Halloween, October the 31st and November the 1st. It's going to be fantastic.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be pretty sweet.
It is. It's
wow.
going to be fantastic.
Now, I understand, do you primary, even Stephanie in the chat room is saying, Samhain, am I saying that right?
Samhain?
Yeah, I say everything wrong. Is a very important celebration for the Celtics. Yeah. Most definitely, yeah. Now, when you do like the haunted places and stuff like that, are you doing mostly like just the buildings, castles, stuff like that, or is it other places, sort of like Newgrange? I'm bringing them to Newgrange is an underground passage tomb. I was telling you about it. Yeah. But I will be bringing them to the northwest, and I will be bringing them to older passage tombs. Carramore Passage Tomb, Carrowkeel Passage Tomb. There's a court underground passage tomb called Creevakeel. They all predate the pyramids by up to 800 years. I will be bringing them there. I'll be bringing them to places like Kilmainham Jail in Dublin. It was one of the very important places during the 1916 Rising. Actually, the leaders of the 1916 Rising, the the freedom fighters, you could call them. Some people would probably call them terrorists, but we call them freedom fighters, depending on which way you're talking. They were killed by the British, and that particular jail is very haunted. But it is a great place if you're into history as well, because now it's a museum. I'll be bringing them to. There's a place called, well, there's only the ruins of it now, just outside Sligo town, called Lisheen House or Seafield House. It was built by Arthur Forbes, I think is his name. Yeah, Arthur Phibbs. And he left it to his nephew. His nephew was an archaeologist, and he used to do digs over in Egypt. And he used to bring back some of the finds that he got. He shouldn't have, I suppose, but he used to bring some finds back. And they had a room in the house. It was called the museum room, the long museum room. And he brought something back from one of his digs, and it had a poltergeist attached to it.
Wow.
And within a week of him bringing this thing back, one day all the staff ran out of the house. And the following week, the family left, and it was just left there standing. Nobody ever went back into it. It ended up being, over the years, people ended up, robbing things out of it, and the roof was taken off it and everything. But to this day, the ruins are there, and people don't, the kids from the local village used to go in and play in it, but every one of them came out with horror stories from the place. So people the locals don't like to go near it, because they reckon that it's dangerous. Even though it's just ruins now and it's covered with ivy, but they reckon that there is definitely an entity attached to that building, and you could get hurt very badly by going in there.
Wow. Yeah. Well, you're next, Kim. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, what kind of poltergeist was it? Like, was it haunted before the?
No,
the
if it was, this is the only time that there was a disturbance in the house. Once whatever the item was,
right,
it had something attached to it, or it was possessed. But it's a nasty spirit that's in that house.
Oh, wow! Wow. Yeah, gotta respect property.
You do, but you have, you do. You have to be very, very respectful, and it's like, as I was telling you about the sacred ground as well. All these underground passage tombs, they were all underneath piles of stones that we would call a cairn, C-A-I-R-N. And I would always, when I'm bringing people to these places, I regard this place as sacred. It's sacred ground. And I believe that it's protected by the spirits and the fairies. Now, people might laugh at me, but I will always ask permission before I bring people up. And I have to ask people to promise me not to remove anything. I do not want any stones or anything removed from that site, because it's not good luck. We're very superstitious people, us Irish. We believe in luck and bad luck, and we don't believe in chancing our arm when it comes to doing things, disturbing the dead or the underworld. It's not a good thing to mess with it.
Right.
Curiosity, because I mean, here in America, and Kimberly's seen it too, that we'll go places that are haunted or that have significant value and stuff, in time and history and stuff, and then people are always doing something to it. They're vandalizing or something like that. Is there? It seems like the people of Ireland are a little bit more respectful. Do you see a lot of it? Yeah,
you would see some of it. I mean, even in that Carrowkeel underground passage tomb, you will see some graffiti. Not a lot, but still some. And it's just, for the majority of people, it's very, very annoying. And it's very disrespectful. Because the majority of people, even the farmers, like we have things called fairy forts or ring forts, or we have fairy trees.
Now, that would be a lone tree in the middle of a field with stones at the base of it. And the stones at the base of it, we believe, are to hide the entrance into the underworld, into the fairies' underworld. So no farmer in Ireland would attempt to touch one of those trees on his land. To
Really?
this day, no farmer would.
I heard that.
And I'll show you how serious it is in Ireland. They were building a main highway out of Dublin, and they were going around Tara, and there was a ring fort in their way. The planning authorities wanted to go through the ring fort. The locals said no. The planning authority were still going to go through it. The whole country rose up and stopped them from doing it. The people even went out and protested on the road and stopped them from damaging the ring fort because they felt that it would bring bad luck to the people. And eventually the planning authorities decided to go around the ring fort, and that is a fact. The road had to go around the ring fort. They were not allowed to go through it. And that's how strongly people believe in, the underworld and the fairies and spirits and things.
Heard that. I've totally heard that. So yes, that is amazing.
Wow. Yeah. Now, have you yourself, and seriously, have you seen a fairy?
Up in Carrowkeel. Now, sometimes you think it might be your imagination. You will see lights. You'll see little lights flickering. Now, I don't know whether that's fairies or not, but there's no other excuse because we don't have fireflies in Ireland. But it's kind of like a firefly, but it's brighter.
Gotcha.
Now, I don't know if I'm not looking at fairies, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Right.
There's no explanation for it. And It's not that you see it all the time, but that's around Carrowkeel, that particular place. Yes, I would have seen that. Not often, but I would have seen it.
I'll be darned. Wow. Well, now there's got to be one place. Actually, Kimberly, you go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine, Jerry. What
Okay.
were you going to say? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's got to be one place in all these different tours that you've gone in all the different places. What's the one place that makes you the most nervous that you really don't want to be there?
And you're respectful. She's respectful because she even says if there's anything, like you won't even go near passages or anything. So I know she's respectful.
Yeah.
So,
well, there's a castle, and actually it's for the October tour. It's the highlight of the tour. It's called Leap Castle. It is the most haunted castle in Europe, and it's in County Offaly, kind of in the middle of the country. And it has a very, really, really violent history. Of course, most of the castles have. All of the castles have, really. But,
Right.
there's no... But there was a brutal murder in the church. They had a church upstairs, and there was one brother killed the other brother, who was a priest, and the few people that were in the church, and it's called the Bloody Church. But the whole place, there's 3 or 4 or 5 different entities in there, and as soon as you walk in the door, it's just as you're going in the door, you can feel it. You can feel that pressure. And you might end up, if you're going up the stairs, for instance, you might feel it's hard to go up the stairs. There might be a pressure on you, or you feel your head is kind of, that there's a pressure around your head. Now, I haven't seen anything there, but you feel it. And there's a musician friend of mine that owns it. He lives there, actually, and he has a lot of stories about it. But it is regarded, and Ghostbusters in America did a program on it, on Leap Castle.
Wow.
Yeah. And So that is the highlight that's on November the 1st. I'll be bringing the 2 tours to visit that place. We'll spend the whole day there.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready.
Nice.
Let's go, Jerry.
I would love to go. I mean,
well, there's places I still have a few places on both the tours. I'm looking for people to come with us.
Nice.
Yeah, I wish I could afford it right now, but I can't. But I will be. So, perched in the Dublin mountains, burned out and abandoned.
Yes.
is an old hunting lodge that reeks of brimstone in the day, built in 1735. The Hellfire Club.
Hellfire Club. I'm bringing them up there as well. That is another very, very haunted place. They used to have satanic rituals up there, and they used to have all sorts of debauchery and everything. The Hellfire Club was an English club, and there was more than just that. That was just one of the clubs of a whole pile of Hellfire clubs around England and Ireland. But that place, it's up on the Dublin. It's in a place called Montpelier Hill, and it's outside Dublin. And there's only the ruins of it now. But again, it was one of these. They used to have all sorts of stuff going on up there. But it is very haunted. I've never been up there, but I've heard so many stories about that place. But I'm going to be bringing up the group. I'm bringing the group up there when they come to visit us in October.
Gotcha. Okay. Hook Peninsula.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Cards with the Devil.
Yes. Now, that is called Loftus Hall. And again, it's one of these very haunted places.
Oh, yeah.
I brought Victor and of course he's a psychic medium, and I brought him and the group there in August. The drive to the place is absolutely stunningly beautiful. I brought them to Hookhead Lighthouse. Actually, that particular place, Hook, did you ever hear the saying by hook or by crook?
Yeah.
It comes from there.
Okay.
Oh.
Cromwell said that he will have his army either come in by hook or by crook, because Hookhead is where Loftus Hall is, and then across the bay is Crook.
Gotcha. Well, the same saying comes from Ireland too. The watch your P's and Q's.
Yes. Yeah. I have to watch my P's and Q's all the time, Jerry.
There you go. So there's one that really fascinates me, and that's the Lady Isabel and the Phantom Children in Ballygally Castle.
That's up the north. I don't know much about that, but that wouldn't be. I think that would not be too far away from the Dark Hedges. That features on the Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Right. Yep.
Yes. Ballygawley is not too far away from there, and I know that there was a white lady, they called her, that walks the Dark Hedges, and she's from the estate that the Dark Hedges are on, or that were on,
Mm-hmm.
and she had a sad death as well, but I don't know much about that. And again, in June, I'm bringing people up. We have a tour going up with Victor, actually, and we're bringing them to some of the locations on the Game of Thrones, and the Dark Hedges is one of the places. Yeah.
Really cool.
Very nice. Yeah, that's really cool. So now, do you, like your husband, what does your husband think about you doing this? Has he been with, or is he kind of like stay in the bus and shiver?
No, he has come. He's been over to Ireland about 20 times with me. He's come with me on a few of the tours, but now he stays at home and he minds the dog.
Okay.
Coward. No.
Yeah. When it started getting spooky, he just, because he thinks, he knows how, I would say to him, he'd say, "You're just too psychic for me. I don't like this. I can't do anything." So it's funny. Yeah.
Kimberly, you go ahead.
So I was reading some more of your different places. So here's a journey to the Middleton Distillery Court, where Jameson whiskey. Now, is it haunted?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not all of my tours are haunted
spirit.
tours. That's the spirit. That's the real spirits. Yeah, that's the ones that you can really enjoy.
Okay.
Jameson spirits. Yeah. But you know what there is in just outside town. There's a little park. Well, I repeat myself. I will. Just outside Middleton town, where Jameson Distillery is, there is this Kindred Spirit Memorial. It's a structure of 9 stainless steel feathers, massive. I mean, you're very small looking when you're standing beside them. And it is a memorial to the Choctaw Indians. because the Choctaw Indians saved money and sent it over to the Irish during the famine to help us. And this is shortly after the Veil of Tears. I know the Choctaws weren't in the Veil of Tears, but the Choctaw Indians heard about our plight, the Irish plight, and they sent whatever money they could save. I think they saved something like $710, and they sent it over to the Irish people to help them. So in Middleton, there's this big memorial for the Choctaw to commemorate the Choctaw Indians doing that. And in County Mayo, there's a walk from Newport to Westport every year to commemorate the Choctaw Indians for helping us.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It is, yeah.
Very much. Okay, so Paranormal Writer did ask questions, how do we find out more about these tours? And so I actually put the website, and the website again is Ireland.
Ireland, yeah.
Yeah, Secret Ireland Tours.
Yes, Secret Ireland.
Tours, LLC.com.
And the tour itself is called Secret Haunted Journey to Ireland. So when they get on the website, if they click the tab that says Tours for 2021, and they get a drop-down menu, and they'll see Secret Haunted Journey to Ireland. And they'll see it all there. And there's a form there. So there's actually a link there that they can...
Oh, froze up a little bit there.
That gives their name and everything. Or gives us their name, and I contact them then as soon as they put their name on the list. It's going to be fantastic, because the great thing about it is it's not just places that are haunted, but I'd be bringing them to some amazing scenery as well. And I'd be getting some of my musician friends. We'll have music a lot of the nights, and it's just going to be fantastic.
Excellent. This is good. I'll tell you what, we need to go on break, so we will be right back with Mai Hernon. I'm going to keep saying it wrong. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes, folks. Hold on.
Whether you're listening at home, at work, or anywhere, thanks for making Para X part of your day. Your source for everything paranormal. Para X.
Hey, Stephanie.
Hey, Tommy, what's shaking?
Oh, just getting ready for this week's show. It's going to be another far-out adventure on He Said, She Said, the Cryptid Show. What happens when you get two cryptid researchers together, one from Minnesota and one from Cryptovania?
I know. It's so much fun, and it's every week, and we get to have fun and talk to different people. And
we don't always agree on everything.
We might even disagree about a thing or two. Oh, my.
One never knows. It's been known to happen before.
And that is the beauty of He Said, She Said, the Cryptid Show, on Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, on the Para X Radio Network.
That was money in the bank.
Ladies Chong and Victoria from Exploring the Paranormal with Geeks Paranormal are at it again with another amazing season full of paranormal celebrity interviews with amazing guests and stories of haunted locations and so much more. You will hear it first on Para X. Tune in Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Central. You will not be disappointed.
Hey, everybody, we are back. This is Jerry with The Calling, along with Kimberly Juarez. And if you guys have just tuned into the show, you didn't hear the first half of it, you still can. How can I do that? Well, I'm going to tell you. If you go to www.thecallingradioshow.com, tomorrow, say about 4 or 5 o'clock, this show will be posted on that, so you can listen to them all. The only ones you can't that are past... that are earlier than 2019. Thank you, Mr. Hacker, for getting rid of all of our shows for us. We do not appreciate it. Anyway, so with Para X, there's just not this show that's interesting. There's more. You have Geeks Paranormal right after us, which is great to hang around and listen to. You also have The Gathering with Stephanie and Heidi. Metaphysical table, sit down, wrap it out. They have a great time. It's every Tuesday night from 8 o'clock Central Standard Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, only on Para X. Also on Sunday nights from 8 o'clock Central Standard Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is the He Said, She Said, The Cryptid Show. They go at it at times. If you listen to their last one, it was extremely comical. And, we're all just Homo sapiens. And, have a good laugh at that one. But it was very good. It was also very interesting. So, okay. So we're back now. And we are with Mai Hernon. Hernon. Why? I don't understand. I mean, I sat there and said your name so many times wrong this whole past week. And now I'm just, you know what? From now on in the future, Kimberly, remind me to call the guest and ask them what their last name is so I don't get it wrong. But I'll get it wrong as soon as, we're on the show and we're live.
Jerry, I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Let's see. You got a bunch of people. Tours look amazing.
Okay.
I agree, Kim. I wouldn't mind checking out the castles. So you never know. If you have Snooki going, that's Darlowski, as I call her, you guys would have a great time. Oh, that's right.
So how many castles is there that
Oh, my. There's so many castles, and depending on what part of the country you go to, Kimberly, there's the whole the place is littered in castles or castle ruins. For instance, I was telling you about that 12th century abbey. Well, about 5 miles outside there is a place called Lough Key Forest Park, and there's a castle on the island. You can see it from the shore. It's an 11th century castle ruin, and it's just, it's absolutely amazing to look at it, to think that that's an 11th century ruin. And there's castles everywhere, but no matter where I bring people, I will bring them to castles. Like there's Blarney Castle. It's a very You'd never have any problems then pronouncing people's names, because the Blarney Stone, it's, you kiss the Blarney Stone and you're supposed to get the gift of the gab.
Oh, okay.
Did you ever kiss it tonight?
Well, wouldn't you be in an awful state now if you were interviewing me and all I said was yes and no?
Right. No, it wouldn't be a good show. We're good.
Yeah, but the Blarney Castle and the Blarney Stone is up at the very top of the castle, and it's said that if you kiss the stone, you get the gift of the gab. And there was one time I brought a group of 22 people. I'll never forget it. There were, I always like to have fun on the bus. I always ask people to sing a song or tell a story or tell a joke, or we have games on the bus. It's not just all stiff tour guide stuff where I'm talking and they're listening and that's it. I like to have a bit of fun on the bus. So anyway, they were reasonably quiet, this crowd were. So we brought them to Blarney Castle and they all went up and they all kissed the stone. Well, honest to God, they came back down and they got on the bus. Now, Kimberly, I'm not telling you a word of a lie. They sounded like a cackling of hens. They never stopped talking and laughing and joking. It was hilarious. I thought, oh my God, that stone actually works.
That's awesome.
That is funny. Okay, now, this isn't funny, but I understand that Ireland back in the days of old, how many of these places did they do large amounts of human sacrifices on?
Every one of them.
Really? Every one of them? Oh, your Skype froze up.
Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you, yes.
Yeah. Going back to real pagan times, there would have been human sacrifices. And of course,
this, you're talking about, let's say St. Patrick. We'll go to St. Patrick. The 17th of March is coming up.
Yep.
St. Patrick was actually from Wales, and he was kidnapped as a 16-year-old, and he was brought to Ireland. And he was a slave during those times. And he kind of grew up watching pagan traditions and pagan rituals and everything. And he escaped when he was in his 20s, and he went back to Wales, and he became a priest. And he decided that he was going to come back to Ireland and see if he could convert the pagans from the way they were living with regard to human sacrifice and human, all these rituals and things. Now, having said that, he was very aware of the traditions, the pagan traditions, and the celebrations and the festivals that they had. And I think Ireland is probably one of the only countries in the world where some of the pagan traditions, like Halloween, would be incorporated into Christianity. Like you had the high crosses, and he managed, because he had a certain respect for their festivals and their traditions, he managed to incorporate some of that in Christianity. And there's a lot of places in Ireland. For instance, there is a holy well outside Sligo. It's called Tubernault Holy Well. And it would have been one of the places where they had to hold secret masses during the penal times, because
Oh no.
Oh, she froze up again. Oh, did we lose her?
I lost you again.
No, there you go. You're back.
They got sacred or secret places, and they held masses at holy wells or particular places where they had people looking out for the British coming. Mm-hmm. Now, in those, you had a holy altar, you had crosses, you had, the whole 9 yards, but you also have a wishing tree where the people that went to Mass would put a piece of garment or a piece of thread, and they would they'd say they'd attach a prayer or a wish to this piece of cloth, and they'd put it on the wishing tree. And they believed that God would take the piece of cloth and listen to their prayer. And through that tree, it would be granted.
Right. Wow.
So even in the Christian places, you can see where the pagan influence comes in. And it is quite amazing, actually. And there's a lot of those around Ireland as well. So what was the question, Jerry? I can't even remember what the question was. But
sacrifices.
Yeah, but in that particular place, the British, if they did catch them, I know that the locals have told me that there were stories of beheadings in that particular place if they were caught congregating. A lot of them would have been killed. So, but there was, in pagan times, there definitely was human sacrifices.
Right.
And of course, all the castles have murder holes, and where people would be just thrown.
Really? So it's a lot like Vikings, then the Northmen. Oh, she froze up on us.
Yeah, it's freezing up a little bit. That's a pity. So anyway,
that's true. Well, it's a lot like it pretty much in the old of Ireland was pretty much like the Vikings.
Yeah.
Like
of course, the Normans ran us over first. They came in and they conquered us first, and then the Vikings came in, and then the British came in. So you're talking about, like, St. Patrick came to Ireland to convert to Ireland in 433. And you're talking about Christianity coming in then. And the Normans came in, and the Normans came in the 11th century. The Vikings came in sometime after that, and then the British came in the 16th century. So right throughout our history, you have a violent history, really.
Right.
A lot of torturing, too, from what I understand.
A lot of torturing,
Just not only killing, but, torturing people
as
well. So,
wow. So, okay, did you ever say that there was one place that you didn't go into? I don't remember if we got that answer.
No, well, I was only talking about Leap Castle. Leap Castle, I've had a tour guide. I'm a chicken, really. I've had a tour guide bring them in, but I didn't go in. I made an excuse. I had an excuse that day, and I sent my tour guide up and brought the group to. Yeah, but I've heard so many stories about it. For some reason, I just don't want to go into that place.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
so you're sacrificing everybody else?
No. I'll organise somebody else to bring them in. No, I won't. I would not ever sacrifice my clients. No way.
So have you seen anything like an apparition or a shadow or anything?
Here's another story for you now. I'm great at my stories.
I love it.
I learned how to do Reiki energy. I'm a Reiki master. And my Reiki master used to say to me, you can heal past lives. And I'd say to her, what do you mean by that? That doesn't make any sense to me. And she'd say, you'll find out. You can heal past lives. So then I learned spiritual healing. And she was constantly saying this to me, you can heal past lives. So anyway, one night I was brought to a ball, one of these formal balls where you get all dressed up and everything. And it was held in this very, very luxurious hotel in Sligo town that used to be a mental hospital. Now, when you go into this place, you would never think for 1 minute, and it didn't even cross my mind when I went into the ball that I was in the grounds of a mental hospital. Anyway, we're around this big circular table, and Lynn is with me. Now, Lynn had done her first level of Reiki energy, and that's as far as she had got. And the music is going, and everybody looks great, and everything is fantastic, and all of a sudden, I'm looking at this spirit, this woman, old woman, small old woman with dirty grey hair tied back. She had a navy blue cardigan on her, and she had a grey skirt, and her tights, she had, those woolly tights, but they looked too big for her. And she looked at me, and she says, I'm waiting for my son. He told me he'd come back for me, and I'm waiting for him, and I want to go home.
Wow.
And I look at her, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? Don't panic. And I said to Lynn, Lynn, and I'm shaking. Says, I've got a visitor. She says, what do you mean? I says, I've got a visitor. So I decided I better go into the bathroom because I didn't know how to handle this. And all I could hear was Claire saying to me, you can heal past lives. So I go into the bathroom. Now at this stage, I could feel her loneliness. I could feel it. I mean, I could feel the whole way she was feeling. She was feeling lonely. She was feeling lost. She was waiting for her son, and he didn't come back to bring her home. And he told her, and she believed him that he would come back. So I go into the bathroom, and at this stage now I have a pain in my stomach, and I'm bending over, and I think I'm going to be sick. And she's there, and she's just saying it to me. My son told me he'd be back for me, and I'm waiting for him. I want to go home. Lynn comes in and tells me, can you not just tell her to go away? And I keep saying to Lynn, I can't. I have to do something, but I don't know what to do.
Now, can she see her?
No, she couldn't see her.
Oh,
no,
she
couldn't see her. But she knew that I was seeing her. She knew by my whatever was happening with me.
Yeah, your reaction.
Yeah, so I just said to the woman, I said, please, I will come back tomorrow, and I'll do my best to help you, and I'll see where your son is. Because I had no idea what to do. So I'm in an awful state. I mean, I'm feeling it. So I had to leave. I couldn't stay there. So I came home, and the next morning I went up to my Reiki master, and I told her, I says, what am I going to do? She says, you know what to do. I says, Claire, you can't leave me hanging like this. I need to help the woman. I said, you can't. She says, I can't tell you how to help her. You will know what to do. Right. Now, it's the first time in my life I came close to punching somebody in the face. I was so...
I was so angry. She was just not going to help me. I had no idea. She says, believe me, she says, you'll know what to do. And you don't have to go back there to help her. So I went home and I was physically drained. I mean, I was absolutely wiped out. Yeah. And I went home. I was crying. I was that upset. And I went to bed and I fell asleep. And I woke up like that and I knew exactly what to do. Wow. And I went into a kind of a meditative state and I called her. And I'm back in this bathroom again. And I told her, I called her and I told her that she had to look forward, that there was going to be 2 lights coming. Now, where this came out of, I don't know. But 2 lights were going to come and they were going to join her and they were going to hold her. And she was never to look back. She was to look forward. She was to go with them. And she was never to turn back, even to say goodbye to me. She had to keep going. And she was going to go home to her son. And she did. I watched her go. Wow. I went back to that hotel maybe 3 months later. And I knew that she wasn't there. And that happened to me one more time. But the second time it happened, I wasn't freaked out at all about it. Yeah, so now I understand when Claire said to me, you can heal past lives. Now I understand it. But at the time, I swear she really put me through the ringer.
Well, I suppose. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. Not to get off what we're topic, but I'm curious about the stone circles.
Oh, the stone circles are amazing.
Yeah, because there's 180 of them, if I'm correct.
There's a stone circle I brought. It was very funny, actually. The last tour that I brought Victor on with his gang, we were down in Cork. And the way I run a tour, it's not really what you'd regard as professional, because the way I am. If I don't have the group booked in somewhere where they're taking a tour and they're booked in and there's a tour guide in the venue to bring them somewhere, if we pass something and I think the group would like to see it and we're not confined to a time, then I'll just bring them there. It'll be off the beaten path. It won't be on the itinerary. And, we'll go and we'll see it. So one day we were driving down in Cork and we passed a sign for Drumbeg Stone Circle. Mm-hmm. So I said to my bus driver, Eddie, I says, how are we doing for time? Do you think when we go up, I think they'd like to see it. It's an amazing place. You'd have to, I'm sorry now that I don't have pictures of it to show you, but there's something like, I think there's 9 stones around. There's it's called the Druid's Altar by the locals, and it's all about the sun. It's all about the summer solstice, the winter solstice. It's all about the even the altar. There's a flat rock, and there's 3 rocks on each side of it that are cut, that are shaped up towards the sun. Have a look at your search it out on Google. It's called Drombeg, County Cork, and you'll see the circles. And again, I think it's this rock called Gneiss, Gneiss, but there's definitely an energy there as well. And again, it's the energy of these rocks that are crystal quartz that take the energy from the ground, and they also attract the energy from the sun. And it's all about, if you go, there's the 2 big entrance rocks, and then some of the rocks are smaller around, and they're aligned up with the flat rock, which would be the altar. And that then is aligned up with certain dips in the mountain behind it, where the sun will peak up in the dip of the mountain, and as it shines down the valley, it shines over the altar and through the 2 entrance rocks. And it's really, really amazing. Yeah, it is amazing. And you're definitely, and that particular one, Drumbeg Stone Circle, there was an urn found. It was excavated there many years ago, and there was an urn found with the remains of a young boy. The ashes or the remains of a young boy was in, they don't quite know why he was there, but he was in the center. The urn was actually in the center of the circle. And they haven't figured out why, whether it was a sacrifice or whether it was, I don't know. They don't really know why that happened, but they did find.
How old was the urn? The urn?
The urn was thousands of years old.
Wow.
And and they knew by carbon dating that this was a child. How they knew it was a boy, I don't know, but I suppose they can tell these things scientifically now.
Yeah. Wow, that is just crazy.
Yeah.
Is it still there? Is this urn still there, or did they?
No, I don't know what happened. I wouldn't say it's still there. I'd say they probably took it. It's probably in a museum or in a scientific place somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one thing that kind of sucks about, I suppose they need to learn some of the history and stuff like that. It's just weird. Oh, now Stephanie was saying on here, time travel through the circles on Beltane. There was supposed to be a woman that was able to go through into time travel.
I did hear that before, and I heard it. Now, of course, the dolmens and the underground passage tombs, they were used. The bodies were left in them for about 2 years. Mm-hmm. And it was believed by their people that the spirit went from this world through to the underworld, through the passage tombs. Because they would take the bones out, but we don't know what they did with the bones. But they would put the bodies in the underground passage tombs so that they would travel into the underworld, and they'd give them bowls of food and things like that as well. They'd leave food or they'd leave jewellery and things like that in the underground passage tombs. So maybe the stone circles might, I don't know what the how they would work with regard to time travel.
Interesting.
So somebody was asking, I don't know, I saw one question, what are your beliefs then?
What are my beliefs?
Yes.
Me or in Ireland?
Well, both. If you can answer.
Well, let's put it this way. Ireland, we still have that kind of pagan thing. For instance, we're a very earthly people. We believe in the earth, and we believe in the power of I suppose the underworld would probably be one way of talk. For instance, the ring forts. Did you ever hear about a ring fort or a fairy fort?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
There is no way, if you paid me $1 million, would I walk into a fairy fort. I wouldn't do it.
What exactly is a fairy fort?
Well, the funny thing is, a fairy fort is a circular mound. It might be a circular mound of trees. It might be a circular mound of mud, or it might be a circular mound of stones that have been kind of overgrown. It was at one stage a dwelling for people, actually. That's what it was. It would have been a circular mound with a covering, and about maybe 3 to 6 families might have lived in this encasement. Mm-hmm. But then years and years go by, and these things get overgrown. And it was always called by the locals then a fairy fort or a fairy mound. Okay. And we always believed it bad luck to go in, because if I went in there, I might get lost. Now, even though it might be a very small circular mound, but what happens, or what was reported to have been happening to people, let's say, Kimberly, you were with me and I went into the mound. Mm-hmm. Now, you would see me going in and you'd see me coming out again in 5 minutes. But when I would go in my mind, I could get lost in there for days or maybe even months. Right. Time it wasn't the same inside there as it was outside. Wow. So I won't go into one of those things, because you see, you've got good fairies
but you don't have, some of them are not nice.
Right.
Right. Stephanie is actually saying that too. She says, don't mess with the fairy mounds.
Oh, no.
They will come to you and show themselves to you.
Yeah,
she was told that she was sent to live life as a human. Steph was. Just show themselves to you if you are of good heart.
Yes.
So we're down to like 2 minutes left. Okay, so now, May.
Yes.
Now, how can someone find you? First off, for the tours. What's your website one more time?
My website is www.secretirelandtoursllc.com, and my email is mai@secretirelandtoursllc.com. I want to tell your listeners we have about 6 places left on these 2 tours. So tell anyone who's interested to contact me as soon as they possibly can. It's going to be an amazing 2 tours.
Wow. One question real quick here. We just got a few minutes, or like less than a minute. Would you step into a Bigfoot tree structures? Kind of sounds similar.
I don't know much about Bigfoot trees, but if they're anything like fairy forts, I would not.
You would not.
No.
Well, they're a little bigger.
Okay.
Well, this has been awesome. This hour went by so quickly. It's unbelievable, and I so appreciate you coming on. And I'd like to have you back on again.
Would love to.
Later on when your tours, you've done a couple more tours and stuff.
Yeah.
And because there's a million questions I've got, we just don't have enough time. So this is great. I have so appreciate you coming on.
Thank
you guys. Thanks. All right. And so everybody, look her up. If you're thinking of going to Ireland, let me know if you do go and you do meet her and stuff. That would be great.
Yeah,
Kimberly,
come back and tell us.
Exactly. Kimberly, thank you so much. And Para X, you guys rock. And Sarge, you're the best. You are just definitely the best. And everybody hang on, because Geeks Paranormal is next. And we'll see you all next week.